My friends, hello. So today I'm going to share with you a story that I'm not proud of, but I learned from, and hopefully you can learn from my experience so that you don't have to go through what I went through. Um, Early in my career, I had the opportunity to run an absolutely gorgeous restaurant that I was really very proud of, and a team of managers that we worked together to lead this place. And it was really a very, very special experience that I was really proud to look back on, and I enjoyed a lot at the time. And while I was there, I had a gentleman who worked for us who had previously been a manager and had kind of finagled his way into a lower level position, which typically isn't um, acceptable, but he was able to make it happen. The problem with that is when somebody knows all the ins and outs of how to be a manager, they can get away with virtually anything. And this guy did. And so he was disrespectful to his colleagues. And, he was rude and just a problem. He was a real problem, and he was a problem for me. And I was increasingly frustrated by him. And there was really no way to make him go away. I mean, we just kind of had to figure out how to work with him, but he got progressively more difficult to work with and caused just a lot of problems. And so I wished pretty flippantly, and now I realize how wrong it was that I did this. I wished that something bad would happen to him, and I used to say this a lot when I was earlier in my life. I would just flippantly say, like, I wish that person would get hit by a bus. And like, you think about that, like, that's super aggressive and mean and tragic. But that was how I behaved at that time in my life, and so I wished bad things for this guy who worked for me. And so time went on. We had a lot of other exchanges that were quite negative. We were able to, at some point, have a semblance of respect for one another, but never an appreciation or a like. I moved on from that restaurant and started working with another company, and I found out very quickly after I left that this gentleman had a seizure and passed away, and it was really awful because I felt responsible, even though I knew that, first of all, it wasn't about me. This guy just died. And second of all, I had no influence over his health issues. But I know what I wished, and I know what happened. And I felt awful for doing that. And I felt awful for a really, really long time. And I still carry with me kind of this regret over, I wish that I had a different attitude towards this person, and maybe if I had thought and felt differently and made myself, see things more positively about him, because there were good things that he did. If I had thought in that way, maybe the relationship could have been different, and so on and so forth. And so I had a lot of regret about this, and that's what I want to share with you, is that my attitude led to my regret. And so the encouragement that I have is, when you're working with somebody who is really, really challenging or irritating or frustrating or just full of animosity that you have towards this person, not to wish them ill, but rather, what are things that you can identify, that you can appreciate about them? What do they do well? What's something that's really unique and special about that person? And focus on those things instead. You don't have to be friends with the other person. You don't have to be friends with them at all. But you do have a choice on how you think about them and how you behave towards them. And when you're stuck with somebody, it's up to you to figure out how you want to think and behave. When you think positively, when you think not as aggressively as I did, what will happen is you will be able to have relationships that are rich, and you won't have regret if something bad ever does happen that you have wished for that person.